Hello there. Welcome to the episode number 13 of DevsWall. Today we have another special guest. He is a computer systems engineer with around 20 years of experience. He is a talk enthusiast and community leader and promoter. He's also people manager and team leader. I want to welcome to this episode Oscar Legorreta. How are you?
Hey, Héctor. Just doing great today. Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks to you for accepting the invitation. It's always a great honor to have a special guest like you. So experienced guests. It's always cool to have them. I'm with experience. I'm not saying old or something like that. Don't take it the wrong way. But
No,
okay,
but there is some.
yeah. We're not getting any younger. What can we do? So how's it going? Everything good?
Everything just great. I'm just excited to talk with you to have this chance to talk about a subject that has been cooking in my mind for more than 1 year. So I'm pretty excited.
Nice. Certainly, we'll talk about something interesting. That's for sure. But before that, let's talk about other interesting things, which is about a little bit about yourself. So, how did you start in all of this of the computer engineering or IT world or whatever?
Yeah, my dad had the idea of buying a computer back in 1993 that I really enjoyed, and it came with a copy of QBasic, and I started coding right away. And ever since, I've never stopped coding. I learned all through school, and ever since 2001, I've been working on the IT industry.
So yeah, a little bit more than 20 years of experience. 2000. Now we mentioned the starts of the 2000, and it's 22 years ago. I mean, it's too much. I
Yeah,
remember
I,
that.
I I got shocked by the news that .NET just turned 20 years this year, and I just remember when I read about it for the first time in a magazine that I had a copy of the first version of it, and that's when I started being a .NET developer, and ever since I've been specialized in .NET. That's how I landed a job at Microsoft, I guess.
Nice. So you started when .NET started, basically,
Mhm.
or well, you might start a little bit before, but
A couple
you
of years.
have been since the start of .NET,
Hmm.
since the first version.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm also part of that world, but I started in version 2, which was kind of I think that was like the most popular initial version, I guess, version 2,
Hmm.
.NET 2. Then the rest is history.
It's when it differentiated from Java.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, those were other times. So since that, you have been specialized in obviously in Microsoft technologies, but are you specialized more in backend, front end, full stack, whatever,
I've
anything?
been all over the place. I've been all over the place in the sense that I've done test automation, I've done front end development, back end development, uh, cloud development. So yeah, I've been all over the place.
Nice. Yeah, in those times, you were just a software engineer, like 15 years ago, I would say. Now
Yep.
everything's broken up, right?
Hmm.
Now people like us uh, who did kind of everything. Now we're called full stack engineers because we do a little bit front end, a little bit back end, a little bit of everything. But now
Correct.
everything's split up, right? Now you have specialized back end engineers, specialized front ends in so millions of technologies, cloud engineers. This it's so much these days, right?
That's correct. That's
But but it,
that's totally right.
but it's kind of good in a way. It's good for us because there's more work, there's more area of opportunity for us
Of
to
course.
keep keep, I mean, just certainty of the jobs.
Yeah. It's a lot of job security based on the wide realm of things that we can do.
Exactly. So, talking a little bit more on the Microsoft technologies, which I haven't been using. Well, I used for so many years, but maybe in the last 1-2 years I haven't used that much. Do you foresee, or what do you see that's cool new stuff there? The latest stuff I knew is Blazor, which is really using the WebAssembly thing is kind of cool. But what other new cool things do you see in
Wow.
this in the software engineering world?
It's funny that you mentioned the last 2 years because they have been 2 years of tremendous advancement in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
.NET
And I and I'm
ecosystem.
and I'm losing it. I just see, oh,
No,
.NET
you're not missing on
5,
anything. You can
.NET
always jump
6.
back.
Yeah,
There's many things. The first one I think it's very important is the merger of .NET Framework and .NET Core. .NET Core was the multi-platform port of .NET. Now the .NET Core and .NET Framework have merged into a single product called .NET. So starting from version 5, there is no more .NET Core, no more .NET Framework. It's just .NET 5, and now it's .NET 6 is being released, and it finally clears the gap that there was regarding platform for .NET. We used to think of .NET as a Windows specific technology. Now it's no more. It's completely multi-platform. And the other thing that is a great addition to the ecosystem is that into that integration effort there is something called Maui, which is nothing more than the next step in the evolution of the Xamarin world, combining it with UWPs, which is basically a single UI multi-platform, multi-device way of creating applications that can be developed once and then deployed into many devices like Windows devices or Android devices or iOS devices. So that's another exciting new step for Microsoft, and of course the Blazor WebAssembly releases that basically take care of many differences that there was before in ecosystem between the backend and front end. Now you can develop in .NET and run it natively into a .NET framework that is running in on top of V8. So that's another pretty exciting thing that's going on.
nice, nice. Well, I think I heard a little bit about the Maui thing. So it's kind of you said an evolution from Xamarin, but
Yes.
but just on the upper level, on the kind of the front end level, or in general, it's just like a new thing that will be there for mobile
There used
and
to be one
hybrid.
thing called UWP, which was the
Hmm.
Universal Windows Platform,
Okay.
and those applications were basically more like PWAs that were
Okay.
adapted to the desktop platform. So
Okay.
they
Yeah.
merged that with Xamarin. So we now have a new Xamarin that is much more robust and that it can target much more devices and platforms.
Nice, nice, nice. Really cool, really cool. I mean, I'm certainly not moving away from those technologies, just maybe using some other technologies, but I always come back and do side projects using Microsoft technology. I mean, I always be a friend, I mean, uh, really advocate user of Visual Studio, man. That's the best IDE there is. And yeah, for example, I'm doing a side project, a personal project, and decided to do in Blazor just to learn it, and it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
kind of easy to use, and if you understand it, you can make really great things.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
you should really try the new version of C Sharp. C Sharp 10. It has amazing new functionalities, and it's super fast, and it's super concise, and has greater features.
nice. We'll certainly do. But by Yeah, we'll certainly use C Sharp on the newer versions in different projects. I'm not running away. I always be there with Microsoft technologies, unless unlike some other people that think it's a dark side. For me it's the bright side. Those Microsoft technologies. Okay, so we're not gonna talk so much about this, but it's really cool parentheses, cool technical parentheses, on geeky parentheses. Uh, we're gonna talk about a really interesting topic that you prepared, right? So, what do you tell us about it? What have you prepared for us?
Yep. Yeah, and warning, this is super geeky. It's I've been thinking about this like for more than a year. This is something that has been in everybody's mind, and it's about the Pfizer vaccine and this new revolutionary mRNA technology. Big disclaimer: I am no authority on healthcare, on vaccines, or on uh, on how to choose anything for your health. I'm just a geek that liked the technology, right? So I'm not advocating for or against anything right now, but I do like what I see in the technology that is being applied there. I read an article called "Reverse Engineering the uh, Pfizer BioNTech COVID vaccine," and I can share with you the links if you want to share with your audience. And they did a great job of putting into GitHub the analysis they did on the source code of of the RNA of the vaccine, and that's a cool thing because we know that DNA has encoded the features of life, right? But we just think about it that way, but we never sit and really think on is how close is this to machine code, to an actual coding, to an actual set of bits that are governing the life. And it's really amazing the similarities that there are. So that's why I wanted to share this impression, or this uh, excuse me, yeah, this article that I found, and
Okay.
the interpretation that I give it from the engineering point of view. Okay, so I'll start by letting you know that these guys took the source code. Where did they get it? The WHO released it. The WHO released the whole genetic material of the first of the virus, and then of the sequence of the vaccine. Sorry. So what's first of all, what's the mechanism under which a vaccine works, right? Let's start by that, and then we'll dive deeper into this.
Well, it's interesting because this one we're gonna analyze the Pfizer BioNTech, which is mRNA,
Hmm.
which is kind of a different technologies. But again, I want to repeat the disclaimer that you said at the beginning. We're not uh, in the health industry. We're not someone who you should take advice on health. No, this is just geeky things on technology regarding the vaccine. That's it. Don't
That's
take
it.
advice on please don't. If you watch this video, this is just a
We're no
geeky
advocates.
geeky analysis on an article on the technology of the vaccine itself. But what I know and heard of people that are kind of more expert on the matter, and we have all heard either in the news or with people in the health industry or even with biochemistry friends, how the different vaccine works. Because there are different kind of vaccines. There are like the traditional vaccine, which is like the well, I don't know how to call it, but the deactivated virus. It's kind of the most common one, which is used in many vaccines. There are some of vaccines in COVID that are deactivated virus. There are some other that use the uh, viral vector is called, which uses adenovirus. I think the AstraZeneca uses that one. which is commonly used for flu shots and other things. And there's this new technology, which is the mRNA, which is
Correct.
kind of what I read in articles, not expert. I will mention this every time because I don't want to talk like an expert here, just what I've listened and heard. It's kind of looks like the new technology that will be used for vaccines because of the ease to use and of the also on how relatively easy is to fabricate, because it's basically a code to generate I think a spike protein that one helps the body produce the immune response. So that's what I know a little bit of the mRNA. uh, do you agree, or what do you think?
Yes, yes. Just as a note for the people who don't know about it, back in the day there were no vaccines, and people catched smallpox. They catched other transmittable diseases, and they found that there were versions of that disease that affected cows, and they noticed that the people who milked those cows didn't get the infection. So what after more observation, they noticed that the cows had a different very similar disease that was communicated to the humans that handled those cows, and they actually got that disease and generated defenses that were compatible with the human one, right? So that's why they call vaccines. It comes from the Latin for cow. So that's why
All right.
they basically got it, right? So so that was the first version, and that's basically very similar to the attenuated version, right? They take a deactivated version of the virus, they inject it with some other agent that basically irritates the body and creates like it puts the immune system in panic mode, and it starts producing those antibodies for that agent that entered. So it's basically like giving like a corpse and telling the immune system to say, take note of this one, because when it comes alive, it's going to kill you. That's the idea behind it. And the adenovirus one, the one that uses a vector, it's basically taking a virus that is completely harmless, and they inject genetic material from the original virus, from the harmful virus, and then that virus that is completely uh, harmless enters your body, gets killed by the immune system, and the genetic material is recognized, and then it's the antibodies get generated. Okay. In this case, the idea behind the mRNA vaccine is to say there's something that you need to recognize. Yes, in the COVID virus, SARS-CoV-2, there is one protein that is called spike, that it has like, well, we all know the photos or the images of the virus, which is like a little ball with tiny spikes, and that's where the name comes from, right? That spike is the protein that the body needs to learn to recognize and attack. So one idea would be to take just spike proteins and inject them in people, because there's no virus, and the body would recognize it. Problem is, the protein needs to be fabricated, and it's not easy to create those proteins. The best way to create those proteins is the body itself. So what the people are doing with the vaccine is to inject the source code necessary to produce that spike protein inside of the body, right? So that's what it's cool about it. And if I may, I want to share a bit of the source code.
Yeah, go ahead. You can share your
Let me
screen,
share.
whatever you want to share.
Sure.
It's in the middle button, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the
Okay.
actual
No worries.
code. Here's an image. This is just an image of a portion, the initial portion of the code released by the World Health Organization. And
Nice.
as you can see, you may remember the movie Gattaca. I don't know if you remember. That is
Yeah.
clever pun on top of the DNA, because all of the sequences of DNA, all of the DNA of all existing life is encoded in just 4 digits, which is G, A, T, and T. And they're the components of the DNA strands, and they basically govern everything. So here we are not talking about DNA, we are talking about RNA. The difference between DNA and RNA is that DNA is a redundant way to transcribe genetical information. When I say redundant, is that it comes in pairs. I don't know if you've seen images of the DNA, but the DNA comes in what is called a double helix, where it's like a ladder that it's just
correct,
turning and turning, and each side of the ladder can only match with another very specific side, like G only with C, T only with A. Okay,
exactly.
so
Adenine and cytosine and those
exactly.
things.
And when you separate it, only the corresponding match can attach to it. So that's how it gets duplicated or transcribed, right? So it's very good for storing information. The only thing that it's not good for DNA is to actually be workable information. The information in the DNA is not ready to be processed. DNA is just like long-term, or it's like the hard drive of our genetic information. It's just to be stored, but not to be actioned upon. When we have a program, we don't run programs off of the hard drive. We run it out of the RAM, right? Out of the volatile memory. But the problem is once you turn off your computer, the RAM is cleared. The volatile memory goes away. The same thing happens in the body. The RNA is the actual working memory, the one that can be transcribed into proteins and therefore live. And that's a cool thing about it, that you have volatile, usable memory and longer storage, but not workable memory. And in this case, we're talking about mRNA, which is the one that transmits messages for creation of proteins, and it's volatile. So here's one of the parts of the vaccine. You may have heard that the Pfizer vaccine needs to be stored in very cold temperatures, and that it has many more ingredients other than the RNA. It has a lipid that is designed specifically to preserve that RNA strand without the need of DNA being available. And also it has all of the properties necessary for it to actually enter the cells and then allow for the new proteins to be expelled. So it's very cool. Going into the source code, this is another very important parallel between the mRNA vaccine and a computer program. You may see these 2 letters, G and A, at the very beginning, that basically are underlined and are in bold. And why is that? Well, it turns out, and let me stop sharing and share another thing that I have here to share. The actual contents of it, and let me find where it is. It's here. The actual contents of it have a structure that is very similar to an HTTP package. You can see that normally you have like a header and then a body and so on, right? So in this case, this is the code. That's the structure of the code. Those 2 letters, GA, are called the cap. They finally used that cap to picture it, and it's 2 letters that basically tell the body that this is executable RNA, just like in executable files for example, in Windows, they start with also 2 characters. I can't exactly remember which 2. I think it's MZ or something like that. But if you open the binary of any executable code, they all start with MZ, and Unix scripts that are executable, they all start with a hashbang. So it's the same. It's just telling our body's operating system that this is an executable mRNA. Okay. Then it comes with another section that is called the 5' UTR, which is it's called untranslatable region. And it's super cool because what happens if a strand of mRNA ends with the reverse of the cap? Wouldn't it be read in reverse and therefore create some random proteins? Well, this is the cool thing. The 5' UTR, what it does, it's like some sort of it's some sort of checksum that basically cannot be read backwards without it being nonsense. Okay, so it only makes sense read in one direction, and it tells the body what it's about to do. So it's basically a descriptor or a header. And then there is another portion of the code that it's called the signal, and it's nothing more than the start, right? Like it says here the message starts, right? And finally, well, and then afterwards we have the code for the protein. It's just how are you going to build that protein, right? It's just G, T, A, and C, right? But I'm kind of lying to you because in RNA there's no T, it's called U. And I'm lying even more because the actual code, and you may have noticed if you paid a lot of attention to the code that I shared before, and I will share again.
Yeah, I memorized it all.
There are no U's and there are no T's. There's only this symbol here, which I forgot the name of it, right? But it's a Greek letter, right?
Okay.
And this is another of the clever, very parallel things that there are between this mRNA and in a computer system. Foreign mRNA and foreign DNA, right? Things that come from outside and try to tell us what to do to our body are really, really bad things, right? They're viruses. So how do you inject foreign DNA into a body without it being detected as a virus, right? Because the body has an antivirus system that says this DNA does not belong to this person, therefore it must go away, okay? So this is a very clever trick that scientists found out about, which is if you replace all of the U's, which are equivalent to T's, by the way, all of the U's from the source code and replace them with this letter. It's not a letter, it's a different compound. It's a different chemical that is completely compatible with the U, and it's recognized by the body as a U, but it's not recognized by an antivirus system as a U, right? Then it bypasses the antivirus, but it still serves as a messenger RNA. So it's a very clever trick. Now you might be thinking, and what prevents viruses from creating this? I can't remember the name. Creating this artificial use. Well, it turns out it's something that our bodies do not have the capability of producing. So therefore, there is no way that our bodies or any living creature creates this chemical by itself. So basically, they tricked it into creating a bypass for our system and still being usable RNA. Okay, that's another very clever trick. So you might remember the Turing machines where you have a reading head, like a tape that gets read, and there are like operations being made, right? That's how a machine works. That's how a computer works. Well, it turns out that inside of our bodies, there is one thing called the ribosome. The ribosome, guess what it does? It's basically one of those machines. I have a small animation here. I don't know if you can see it, but that's an interpretation of how it works. The red tape the red ribbon that goes through it is the RNA, and the blue things that get created are proteins that are generated into the and released into the body. Okay, so basically our code is telling the body, the mRNA is telling it create this and this and this, not proteins, it's creating amino acids that they
Okay.
create, that get created in sequence, and a sequence of amino acids becomes a protein. Now, there's another neat trick here. They know how the spike protein is formed, and they could just give it the code to create the spike protein. But guess what? If the spike protein is created as is without the body, it collapses. It's like if you had like a ribbon, right?
Mhm.
You just try to make a shape and just let go of it, it will undo itself, right?
Okay.
So they did another clever trick, which was to change the sequences. And I have a good example of this right here. They changed the sequences so that they included a couple more amino acids that do not belong in the original spike. Here you can see this is the virus and this is the vaccine. In this case, this has a AAA and this has a CCU. That's three differences. That's a complete different amino acid.
Okay.
And what it has, it's that this CCU, it creates another amino acid that is harder, and it is strategically placed so that it acts as some kind of glue that keeps everything in place. So it's almost the spike protein, but it's a spike protein that is hard enough not to undo itself and to survive without the virus. That's another super clever trick that is completely just machine code trickery, right?
Okay. Yeah.
This is the article, by the way, and there's some other things that they took advantage of. There's a table. I don't want to the details of it, but what you can see is that in many cases, four different combinations of letters. These sets of three letters are called codons.
Mhm.
So four different codons code to the same amino acid. So you could use UCU or UCC or UCA or UCG, and you would get the same exact protein, the same exact amino acid. And you
Okay.
would say, then what is it good for? What's the difference? Well, turns out that if there's more G's and more C's than in the original virus, the body tends to create more copies of it. So it's like a way
Okay.
to potentiate the mRNA, so it creates more copies of
So
the
so it's so it has a kind of a slightly different code, but at the end
yes,
that those sections are creating the same protein that the original
yes,
virus would create.
exactly.
For
In this
example,
case,
in the third, well, in the second and third,
let's
most of
see
them are
triple
kind
U.
of different.
Let's see triple U versus UUC, right? So you have
Uh-huh.
triple U, which is around here, and UUC. They both are equivalent in terms of what
Exactly.
amino acid they produce. But they decided to add this because if there are more C's or more G's, the protein gets a much more gets more, gets more copies, gets better created, let's say. So it's more potent, it's more recognized, it's more obeyed. So what they did is to go through the whole source code of the virus, and whenever they could find any change that they could do to add another G or another C, they did it as long as they created the same exact amino acid, right?
Hmm.
And then they added this amino acid changes that are real changes and that actually create a new protein that is actually more robust and will not decay because it doesn't have the virus attached to it. Okay.
Okay. Nice.
Finally, they inserted at the very end of the let me share again the structure of the message. At the very end of the message, there's a tail, and I can't find the tail. Here it is. At the very end of the message, we have another UTR, which just allows it to know that the signaling end, but also has some more information, which is to tell the cell to expel those proteins that were just generated, to send them across to the body. And finally, it has something that is called poly A. And it's nothing more than a lot of letter A's. It has a long string of A's. And why would you want a long string of A's? Turns out that when the RNA is processed, it loses part of the tail. Part of the last portion of the message gets broken down. So those A's are basically a way to allow the RNA to be reprocessed and reprocessed time and again, so that it creates as many copies of the spike protein as possible. That's the beauty of it.
Nice,
This is the structure that I wanted to tell you about.
Whoa, it's really really interesting. So many hacks to for the vaccine.
Yes,
But
sir.
are you thinking about the same conclusion that I'm thinking, that we are machines? Ah.
No, yeah, of course, absolutely. We are machines. We are totally machines that obey a code, and that code is that code of our genes. And you mentioned at the beginning of the talk that this will enable other vaccines to be generated easily. Well, it turns out that there's machines that allow to create these DNA strands easily, because there are now DNA printers. So if you get some person that does the analysis of a genetic code of a virus in the other side of the world, you can just take that, pull it from GitHub, push it into your DNA printer, and you would have a working copy of the DNA to experiment on. And not only that, this thing here, if you noticed, the only particularity that it entails absolutely to the COVID virus is just that central portion. So if you exchange that for any other protein, you can create any protein that you want. You just have to find the protein that is necessary for the body to learn how to fight, so that you have a new vaccine for new diseases. This actually is not a vaccine that was created for SARS-CoV-2 at the very beginning. This is actually an adaptation that was made from the SARS-CoV-1, which was, I don't know if you remember, the SARS epidemic from 2002, I guess. I can't remember the year. That was another virus that it's actually a previous version of this one that we're fighting right now. So they were working on that before. They just switched the middle part for the new DNA, or the new code of the new virus, and that was a quick adaptation. So it's a misguided thinking if you say this vaccine was developed in under 1 year. It's not. It has been the culmination of more than 60 years of advances, from 3D printers to electronic microscopes to this mRNA technology, which was not even intended for SARS. It was actually intended for treatment for cancer.
Nice. Yeah. But it's really interesting. I mean, I told you what I read about mRNA vaccines. I mean, just read an article which was done in 2018, just before, or 2017, just before the pandemic, and saying that all the studies were concluding that it was going to be like the new technology on the vaccines, that it was already under testing in the world itself, but just
Right.
I guess the pandemic made it faster, I guess. Not sure, but
Yes.
but it is it looks like an easier and faster way to develop, and maybe less. No, I don't know how to say. Maybe more effective and less harmful. No, I don't know if harmful is the word, but
Well, this is better targeted.
it's better. Exactly, better efficiency, better targeted, because you have the actual code and you are developing the proteins that you need based on the virus strain, based on the virus code.
Right.
Well, based on what you said, just analyze the virus code, just replace the whatever you can put more C's and more, what is the other letter,
More
more
C's,
G's,
more G's,
more
and
C's, more
whatever you
G's,
needed to keep its shape.
and to keep the shape to produce the same protein. And all the hacks. I mean, that strain message that you shared is really interesting. As you said, it's like an HTTP message, or could be applied in so many parts in software engineering. I mean, it's just the only difference is that you're hacking real humans. It's
Yeah.
not just something else. You're not just saying. I mean, we are when we receive the mRNA vaccine, it's like, okay, we're receiving a post API message, like a
Yeah,
post
definitely.
API that has the it's run under HTTPS. It has it is a post. It has an HTTP verb. It has the body, which is the actual code, and
And even
and
more clever, we are actually falling victim of the log4j vulnerability because we get code injected for execution.
oh, yep.
We get the binary for execution.
Correct. We get we get the binary, but um, so this is actually the teaching. I mean, like the message in general is the message that tells us to create a protein, and this is how in the bottom inside the vaccine what is being done. But how is it? Uh, well, I guess this is more of a question to a biochemistry expert or medical expert. But I believe like having proteins injected itself is really difficult or not possible. I guess the actual proteins.
The actual proteins are fragile by themselves. That's one
Yeah.
thing. And the other is we don't have the, well, we could produce them,
Mhm.
but the machinery to produce them is expensive, and we have things that we would need just to take out of the machine and into the body as quick as possible. And in this case, we have something that just tells our body how to generate it by itself.
Nice. How do we know that the body actually all the bodies generate them? It's like it's in the genetics of all the humans.
It's
Like
on the it's how the ribosomes work. You give them the same instruction, they will generate the same proteins.
nice. Well, this is really interesting. How technology is applied everywhere, and can look it can look kind of scary, but in the good sense, because I mean this is used for recovering quickly from a pandemic, and and I guess the latest strains of the virus will have slightly different code, right? Like for example, nowadays, 2022 beginning, we have the Omicron, which I believe will have a different set of code and set of proteins uh, that the same vaccines will have to adjust to those, or what do you think?
As far as I know, as long as they have the spike protein, they will be detected by the immune system, right? So
Mhm.
because the antibodies that will be generated will be recognizing the spike protein. The problem will be when we get a copy that does not have the spike protein. Thing is, the spike protein is what makes it attached to the respiratory system. So it will be a very drastic change. It will be a completely different virus by the time it's actually using another protein to fix into our respiratory cells.
Nice, nice. Well, this was really, really interesting. I think we could spend so much time talking about the this reverse engineering of the Pfizer COVID vaccine. Maybe next time we analyze the Moderna one, which is also mRNA, or some other. All right, I think we're good. I want to just to finalize this. I just want to thank you for your time. It was really, really nice topic, really nice conversation, and I really hope to have a next one with some similar topic or whatever topic. I mean, this time some of my previous videos were more focused on a specific subject on computer engineering or a technology or mobile development or testing or something. Now we touch a interesting and and really on demand topic, if we say so, which is the COVID vaccine, and how do we apply it? How do we do a reverse engineering? And for us that we are in the software world and we are techie geeky, it's really interesting to see it from this perspective. At least I think it's really nice. I will have to take a deeper look to that GitHub repository, and we can definitely share that article and the GitHub repository to. I can even leave it in comments or whatever. If anyone wants to see it, go ahead and give us your feedback.
Sure, thank you, and count me in for conversations. I love to talk to you, and I also love to share about many topics. You know that if you start me talking about .NET, you'll never stop me. So I can be there to share about the new features of .NET as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is at the end, this is a techie geeky program or episode or whatever you want to call it. So the more you want to talk about anything related on technology or even any other topic surrounding it, it's better.
Cool.
So yeah,
thank you.
It will be really cool. Thanks so much, Oscar, for being part of here. It was really nice talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
We'll see you next time, and thanks to anyone who watched this episode. Definitely we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.